Good evening. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, hello everybody. I'm Genevieve Marenghi, and I'm here to talk to Donna about my debut cozy crime author, No Oil Painting, about a reverse art heist at the National Trust. The tagline on it reads, "You're only as old as you feel, not the art that you steal."
That's a great tagline, actually. I love
Yeah,
that.
I was quite pleased with that. I only had a few months to come up with it. But yes, so I don't know, do you want a bit about my background first, or should I talk about the book? Where would you like to go?
So I usually ask, what was the moment where you thought, okay, now's the time. Now I'm going to sit down and write that book?
Okay, well, I had been volunteering myself as a National Trust guide. There's this beautiful Jacobean mansion, Ham House, which I don't know if you've ever been to, but it's on the banks of the Thames of Southwest London. It's like a hidden gem. And I'd been volunteering there as a room guide, and I did ghost tours there for about 9 years. And quite a few of the volunteers are quite a bit older than me, but they were the most brilliant group of people I've ever worked with. I loved them. They had such great life stories. My friends used to tease me, "Why are you working with a bunch of pensioners?" I was saying, "No, you don't get it. They are so funny. They're really passionate. I love them." And the place was very special. And I was in my early 50s, or I just sort of turned 50. And it was the first time in my life I thought I toyed with the idea of writing fiction. So I was just, I'd never really, I mean, I have written all my life, but it's the first time I really thought I'd quite like to write a novel, that thing. So I've only just recently worked out what I want to be when I grow up. And that's a writer. So I was toying with the idea of writing a historical novel set at Ham House. Have you written historical novels?
No,
No,
I'd
I
love
was
to,
toying.
but yeah,
Yeah,
the
there's a lot of
research.
it's the research. Well, there's loads of archives there, and there's loads of. So I was toying with because there's this brilliant Duchess that used to live at Ham House and haunts Ham House, still, and she lived there in the 17th century, and she was formidable, and she played both sides in the English Civil War. Um, and she's got an incredible rise and fall story. And I thought, oh, I'll write about the Duchess of Lauderdale. She's great. And she wasn't at all like a lady. She couldn't be doing with embroidery. So I thought, oh, she sounds brilliant. She sounds really badass. So I was going to write about her. And I have actually weaved she does play a key part in No Oil Painting. And then the politics at that time were quite confused. I was working that out. And then I heard this radio interview, and it was about an art detective describing the return of a very famous stolen Titian, that had been stolen, I think it was mid-90s, from the Marquis of Bath, from his Longleat House estate. Anyhow, long story short, it was found dumped in a plaid nylon holder, minus its frame, at a bus stop outside Richmond Station in 2002. And that's sort of fairly near to where I live. So I go through that station a lot. And that kind of like blew my mind because I thought, can you imagine everyone rushing past this multi-million pound masterpiece, in effect, in a placky bag, completely oblivious? And it's sort of and you've got something, I think, as a writer, when that image just doesn't leave. I couldn't stop thinking about it. I think, oh my God. And I do remember thinking that would make a really good ending to a story. I mean, that's not the ending to No Oil Painting, but the seeds of a reverse art heist were sown. I thought, what about if you write a book with the main point is, okay, your protagonist is going to steal a painting, but they have to try and put it back without being caught. And so I thought, well, okay, if I'm going to write about that, then where better to set it at Ham House, a place that I know and love, that's brimful of stunning art and is staffed by an army of the most fantastic, quirky, funny volunteers. And that's kind of like, and then I guess I was mulling this over my head, and I guess I wrote it. I sort of finished it when my daughter went off to Manchester Uni, and I wrote this very raw 90,000 word draft. And I remember I don't know about you when you first started, but I'd written about a quarter of it, about 20,000 words. And you just don't know. I literally never written it. And I remember showing it to my husband, and I went, "No, I know you're legally obliged to tell me this is good, but honestly, if I'm making a tit of myself, can you please just let me know and I'll take up." I don't know, crochet or something. I wouldn't take up crochet, but like, please stop me. And he said the perfect thing. So he wasn't too gushy. He just said, it's good, keep going. It's good, keep going. He just did that. And then it got to the point where I'm halfway through. I thought, well, now, and I also, I did that really annoying thing where I walked around and I said to everyone, I'm writing a novel. And everyone go, literally, people change the subject. It's so embarrassing because it sounds so pretentious. Oh, I'm writing a novel. You know what I mean? It sounds so pretentious. But the reason I did that was because I thought it's so shameful if I don't do it. I actually have to do it now. And I kind of like that was partly it. But also when people do that thing of like, oh, you're mad, that was like, because I'm mainly fueled by a bit like Maureen by spite and rage, and I'm quite petty. Every time someone said, oh, I thought, right, I'm gonna effing well do it now. I'm gonna show you. So I kind of like that fueled me on. So then I wrote it, and then I had no idea what to do. I had my writers and artists yearbook. I literally hadn't a clue. And I wrote the most terrible, awful, worst kind of query letter to the agent, to people like Felicity Blunt, who's like a top literary agent. I just, I went, dear Felicity, like, here's my book, sort of thing. You know what I mean? It was like, it was terrible. And unsurprisingly, I was ghosted. And then I was very lucky because I've got this lovely sticker. I don't know if you can see it, Women's Prize longlisted. So in 2020, it's every year, and it opens at about, submissions are open about September, and then it closes January the following year, towards end of January. So I heard about it on social media. And do you remember it was lockdown? 2020 was lockdown. We were all
Yeah.
slightly going a bit balmy. So I thought, I heard about this competition. It's free. I happen to have a full 90,000 word, very raw manuscript, but you don't need it. It's a really brilliant. The Women's Prize Trust is a fantastic charity, and the Discoveries Award stroke program is fantastic because any unagented, unpublished woman writer in the UK and Ireland can enter. It's free. It can be about any genre, apart from children's or YA, and you don't need a full manuscript. You don't even need to submit a full 10,000 words, up to 10,000 words. I mean, it's better if you do. So I remember, seeing this, I don't know, it's probably on social media. I thought, well, if nothing else, let me just dust off my 10,000 words and tidy it up. I don't need to send it. And I remember a grey, depressing, January morning, and I was sort of hovering over the submit button. I thought, oh, look, I literally have nothing to lose because they're not going to print a list of all the people who didn't make. So I just pressed submit, and then I forgot all about it. And in fact, I was doing an online creative writing course with Curtis Brown Creative, and then I got an email pinged in April telling me I'd been longlisted. And I just thought, first of all, I thought it was a scam. That was my immediate reaction. And then I thought everyone is delirious with COVID. Like, what is going on? And it was just like that changed everything because the chair of the judges was Kate Moss, as in the multi-million-pound writer. Not, I think he's more iconic than the supermodel Kate Moss. So Kate Moss with an E, who set up the Women's Prize for Fiction over 30 years ago. And she's an absolute goddess because she does so much mentoring. And she got so much stick for setting that prize up. I think in an interview she said, I do go off the subject, so forgive me, but I think her first question was asked when she set it up over 30 years ago was from a Telegraph journalist, are you a lesbian? And then the second question, why do you hate men? And she said, I don't hate men, but, women, are not getting women writers, like in all the Booker Prize, and there were very few. Anyhow, but now it's become it's become one of the most prestigious awards. So, she literally did it from a room in her friend's flat's house. They set it up. So anyhow, the fact that this iconic woman had deemed my raw 10,000 words worthy enough to be longlisted meant everything. And so after that, you get mentoring. And basically, I got signed with an agent at Curtis Brown on the back of that because they were one of these, they sponsor the award along with Curtis Brown Creative and now Audible. So I signed with an agent, and it's like amazing. And between us, we did a few edits over sort of a year or so, and we turned it into something publishable. and I did learn a lot. I learned a lot about, for example, I don't know, you were probably much more switched on when you wrote your first novel, but I literally thought, oh, right, I haven't written about that room in Ham House. I'll just put that in as padding. Can you imagine? And I literally had every single character of the Ham House staff team. So my agents, I did this, and they said, Genevieve, right, number one, you're not writing a history guide. Number two, you can you amalgamate some of the characters? It's like, oh, I was literally learning. It's like I didn't know. It was literally like talk about. I learned so much. Anyhow, we turned it into something publishable, and then we submitted. I think to about over. It was well over 20 editors, and got some really favourable feedback. I learned that editors don't need to sugarcoat, but it was things like we've just signed an author in the same genre. So sometimes it's just as much about timing. But all passes, too commercial, not commercial enough, la la la. Anyhow, then got a bite from an interest at Hodder and Stoughton, who part of Hachette UK. So my agent arranged a Zoom, and I really got on with her. And she gave me some notes to make it more commercial, and they really chimed with me. And I was really flattered that she'd taken the time. We Zoomed for well over an hour, but at the same time, my heart sank because I thought it's not as good as it could be. So I turned around some edits as quickly as I could. At the time, my dad was Alzheimer's was getting worse. So I did that. You will recognize this. And to normal people who don't write, they'll think this sounds mad, but the characters, Maureen and her gang, Maureen's my wily septuagenarian protagonist, had sort of taken up residence in here. And they became a sort of sanctuary. So in the evenings, I'd be exhausted and I would take refuge. And I turned around this redraft as quickly as I could and submitted again. But the time, and it was only in a matter of weeks, but the time we submitted, the editor had moved on to another publishing house, back catalogues, because the publishing industry is in constant flux. That's another thing you learn. And then my agent was going on maternity leave and there was no cover, like many overworked agencies. And we had to part ways because we hadn't clinched a publishing deal. So January 24, so roll on from April 21, yay, to January 24. And I just thought, imposter syndrome. I'm not a writer, obviously. I'm a total failure. And I just felt, and so I stopped writing. I had written a bit of a second novel, but I stopped writing for a while. And then I dabbled a bit with short stories and flash fiction. And I did get somewhere. I got listed for the Writers and Artists short story competition with a chapter of my second novel. And that was a real boost. So I thought, actually, no, maybe I can write. And then I thought, and I am a bit like Maureen, I'm not repressed like her, but because she's quite angry, I let my anger out. And by the way, Maureen, despite being in her mid to late, about being 77, she does like to swear. Because when I wrote her, I thought, I don't want to do because, like, newsflash, some older people swear. So and that went with her character. I had to make her. She needed to be angry because you can't have a happy, well-rounded woman suddenly going and stealing a painting. There has to be she feels invisible, she's bored, she's lonely, and various trauma from her past catches up with her grief, catches up with her, and she feels rudderless and invisible. And there's a very small trigger that sets off everything that's been repressed in her. She's very sarky in a monologue. And then she thinks, screw you all, you assholes, I'm going to steal this painting. And then she plans it. Okay. Completely lost my thread. This is what happens when you give me free rein, Donna. I can't remember what I was saying. Welcome to my brain.
I relate completely. It's fine. April 24 or
yeah, so January 24. So yeah,
January
So a bit further on, I started submitting no oil painting. See, that was good concentration. You were paying attention. Well done. Yeah, I started submitting no oil painting to independent publishers that bypass the agent route. And Burton Mayers Books, who are quite a small publisher, expressed immediate interest. I sent a few extracts, and Richard Mayers, who's the main guy there, said it's really fun. You can obviously write. I like what you've written, and as I say, we signed the contract May last year, and the release date was October. So it's quite a full-on few months because I mean, even in some of the bigger independent publishers, or certainly with trad publishing, it from the gap between signing a contract to actually releasing a book is a year of minimum, normally 18 months. And I was doing pretty much everything myself for the first time within the space of a few months. I didn't get my cover until September. It's coming out on October the 10th. I had to do my own tagline, the cover quotes. And you know what it's like. I did get it professionally proofread, but I knew that it was in pretty good shape because it had in effect gone through several professional edits. So I knew that that was fine. But you know, when you get your layout for Kindle, you have to read it through again because sometimes it could be set out funny. So you get to the point you think, I cannot bear to read this book anymore. I mean, actually, it was fine. But and then I was organizing a launch party and promo event. So it was like really, and everyone, all my friends kept saying, "Are you really excited?" I was saying, "God, I'm actually quite stressed." But no, the point was I was very grateful because it got Maureen and a gang off iCloud. I released her into the world. Um, yeah, and it's been fun. It's been fun. And I've had some good feedback from the volunteers, lots of good feedback. On the whole, really good feedback. So yeah, and I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot from sort of both sides, and more of the indie publishing side, the small publishing side, to from the trad publishing. So I've learned a lot more about publishing and a little bit more about how to actually write. I mean, you learn as you go along. You're always learning, right? I don't know about because you've had quite a, how many novels have you got out now?
I've got two out of them. My third one's due on the 31st of August.
Oh,
So not that many.
congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
No, but you are still, I don't know if you find this, but you're continually learning, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think, I mean, even the greats like, I mean, the icon that is Marenghi, I love her so much. But I loved her because she says when ever she gets her edits back from her editor, who's like a friend now, because it's been the same editor for years. She says, I spend a couple of days, swearing and kicking things around the house, saying, what the F does she know about writing? And I love that she does that. And then she says, sits down and she thinks, okay, she's absolutely right. Because editors normally are. They come out, they can see you're so close to the material. And that's what the Women's Prize did for me because you just need, and that's what Richard Mayers did for me because I could have self-published, although that would have been quite a lot. That's even more work. But I kind of needed the validation. I thought, I think this is good, but is it good? I'm too close to it. So I kind of needed to know, after that blow of being knocked back by the agent, I think we both felt we'd failed somehow. But, you know, um, I didn't want to leave Maureen in a drawer, metaphorically. I just thought, no. And actually, I mean, this is not why I wrote it, but I did look this up. I think this is the only contemporary novel set at a National Trust property about volunteers.
Oh, wow.
Which I mean, think what an
Yeah.
institution the national. It's got over 5 million members. So yeah, I think if they could bar me, they would actually. I am a
Yeah, I'm
card
sure
carrying
they
member,
would.
but a Ham House aren't terribly keen. Yes, no, they're not. They're not. It's not that I've given anything away. I mean, it's a love letter to Ham House because Maureen loves Ham House. Um, but it's a kind of like an eve of life crisis. So as I said, it was great fun. Her character came to me quite clearly because it had to be motivated by the plot. So she was quite. I just in my head, I just thought Imelda Staunton,
Yeah, awesome.
yeah. So she will in the Netflix adaptation. She will. Well, her and Celia Imrie will have to cage fight it out to the death. Celia
Oh
Imrie might.
man, that
Celia
would be
Imrie
awesome.
might win because she has a flatulence, so she might. She might. We know that, don't we, from watching
We
Traitors?
do.
Yes, so we love Celia Imrie, but she could play another character. But so Maureen came to me very clearly, funnily enough, but her unlikely team, because one of them is actually her nemesis. I know that you go on these writing courses and they say, oh, write down all what star sign is your character? What would they do if they found a £20 note on the, and you meant to write down all the, well, I don't work like I do it in my head. And they evolve. And I find, and public transport, I don't know about you, public transport is nectar for writers. People watching is one of my
Oh,
hobbies and juicy conversations. People say the most brilliant bonkers things that no writer could make up. I've heard the most.
Absolutely.
I just and good. It's great. You just you wear your earplugs, don't you? And you just sort of stare vacantly, but you can really. I do you remember during lockdown when we were now? Do you remember that time we were out for 1 hour's exercise a day, and everyone would be
Yeah.
taking notes? She's been out for 1 hour 10 minutes. Do you remember all that? The curtain. Anyhow, I can remember I was walking by the river on a sort of river walk, and there was this woman arguing on a mobile. It was so juicy. And I kept in my head, I thought I was trying to envisage what was going on, what was being said the other line. So I followed her for 8. I mean, it wasn't just me and her, there were loads of people. So I wasn't stalking too bad, but it was just so fascinating. And I walked miles out of my way. And then Donna, don't tell anybody, but I was out for longer than an hour. I know, call the police. No, but I mean, things like that. So, and I think Irvin Welsh famously, when he was writing Train Spotting, famously just sat on the Circle Line and looked at people and the noise and commotion. So what I'm saying is people watching is a great. So my other characters from her team sort of evolved. I wanted to make them distinct from each other. So there's 4 in the gang. There's Maureen, Rona, Thelma, and Deirdre. So I wanted to make the other 3 distinct, but they had their own separate arcs. I had to have their own I had to have Maureen's motivation clear as to why she was doing it, but I had to have their motivation as to why they wouldn't just dob her in, why what their reasons for helping her to try and put it back and getting themselves in increasingly absurd situations. But I found this is the mad thing. I sort of got really fond of them and I felt a bit bereft, when I left them. I
Yeah,
don't know
that
if you
happens.
do that. Do you get like, yeah, do you miss your
I've
characters?
Yeah, I've only just finished writing book 3, and I was sort of a bit like, I don't want to get to the end because that means that I can't write
Yeah.
them anymore. But also, I really want to get to the end because I
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
finish
there
this.
is that. Yeah, yeah. So you had a deadline.
I gave
Um,
that I gave myself because otherwise I'd never have finished writing the damn thing.
Yeah, well,
So I
this is
gave myself.
it. I know because I think I do need a deadline. Like when I had that editor who I really got on with, who, and my agent at the time, the one at Hodder and Stoughton, my agent used to be an editor and she knew them all really well. And she said, they're so excited at Hodder and Stoughton about your book. They're talking TV and everything. So I believed all this. So I literally turned it around within weeks. So I can when I really have to. It's like I just have that thing. But when I don't have now that I actually don't want an agent at the moment because it would just be, I don't want to give 15% of my multi-million pound income, not to someone when I'm doing all the work. But, in a way, it's a good thing. And in my personal life, my father died recently. So I was dealing with funeral directors and solicitors and clearing the house. So that my writing has halted. But I kind of I do need to create a deadline because it's once you've stopped, it's quite you need some time and space to sort of get back into it.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Yeah, I'd actually started writing another book after my second, and then my nan had a stroke. And I was already writing set in a hospital. So I thought, oh, I can include that, write what you know, and all that. And then actually I was like,
Yeah,
no, I can't do this. So it's put to the
no,
side. And
it's
then
really
started
hard.
again. Yeah, it's really hard actually. Yeah, so don't
Yeah,
recommend.
no, sometimes life takes over. Although I heard an interview recently, I don't know if you read any of Claire Fuller's work. She's a great writer, writes a lot of horror. She recently released Hunger and Thirst, but she said that she doesn't always, she's not one of these people that has to, because every writer's different. Some people have 1,000 words a day, and I just can't do that because I have ME and sometimes I just have brain fog and your life takes over. And I think then you automatically, oh, I haven't done 1,000, now it's 2,000, you know what I mean? It just doesn't work for me. And also my inner teenager just says, not going to. I'm not going to write. I'm not going to do it. It's no good. So that doesn't work for me. But what she said really resonated because she said, I don't do that, but when I do, I touch it every day. So in my head, if I'm out at the pub, I might have a glass of wine, but I'm thinking, what else should I have? She'd have a beer. Do you know what I mean? You think, and I do a lot of that. I do a lot of like almost like editing in my head. So that's my excuse anyhow.
Well, apparently that is as good as I've been told. And I go to lots of book festivals and stuff. So I've heard
Okay.
lots of crime writers mostly talking, and that's still writing. you're still brewing on the story, the
I
characters are
think
still in your
so.
head, so it still counts, is what I'm taking away from
Okay, well, if you
it.
say so.
Yeah, and
Uh,
that's people like Mark Billingham and Ian Rankin
oh
and the
yeah.
Child, it's a lot, not small
Never
names and
heard of
stuff.
them.
So
Who are they? Never
yeah,
heard of them.
yeah,
What have
some
they ever
weirdos.
done?
Yeah, I know. But they still get imposter syndrome. And Stephen
Do
King.
they?
Yeah. Stephen King, every
No,
time he
not
sits
Stephen
down.
King.
Yeah. He says every time, he said, I don't know if I know that I'm going to be able to write another book.
Oh, actually, no, I have heard that. Yeah, well, if
Yeah,
a God
it's
could say
insane.
that. Yeah.
Madness.
Have you read any of Mick Herron's The Slow Horses?
Oh, I really want to,
Oh,
but
you've got to.
I know.
Have you seen the TV
No,
series?
because it's on Apple and it's one streaming service I don't have. I
Yeah, I
refuse to
know.
pay for another
There's
one. So,
I know. Do you know what I mean? It is annoying because there's so many. You could be like kids and do a Maureen and steal it.
yeah,
I didn't say that. I didn't say that. Because the kids don't pay for anything, do they? They do
no.
special jiggery
Yeah.
pokery. Anyhow, I didn't say that, obviously.
No, no, no.
But the books are brilliant. And what is he's meant to be a lovely guy,
He
because I know
is. Yeah, I've
he
met
does
him.
appear.
Yeah.
Oh, you have, right. And but what is so brilliant about him is that well, there's two things. He said, I wrote about MI5 because no one can tell me that I'm being incorrect. A, no one, because people don't know, or B, the real McCoys aren't going to come clean. So so he said that's clever. And also he does this amazing thing. So he writes third person close, but he breaks all the rules. So he does a POV switch like within the paragraph. So he'll jump from character's head to character's head. He does it seamlessly. It doesn't jar, but it kind of like propels it, makes it really fast paced. It just moves it forward. And he has loads of characters and it just works. And I just think it's such a skill. Also, Jackson Lamb is almost Dickensian. He's like one of my favorite literary characters. It's the stuff he actually says that when I write the stuff that comes out of his mouth, I think my mum's got to read this. Like he's the most un-PC. He's the most obnoxious. He's brilliant. He farts. He says the most awful stuff, but at the same time he's brilliant and he sorts it out. He's like an ex. I don't know why I'm bigging up his book. Buy this book instead, it's much better. No, but it is interesting. I just marvel. It's very interesting. I think once you've written a novel, it's very hard to even watch TV. Watch everything is done seriously. Think, oh, I see what they're doing here. They're doing the halfway through the false victory, false defeat thing. You can sort of see often what they're doing, or what I find if you're reading a book, instead of thinking, no, I don't like it, you think, oh, hang on, okay, why hasn't it gone? Not that it doesn't mean the book is not good. Why, for me, has it jarred? Why has it not grabbed me? Because it's very subjective. It doesn't mean it's a
Yeah,
bad book at
exactly.
all.
Yeah.
Like, it's just that why I think you have got to give a book a bit, it's a bit like going on a date. I think you've got to give them a few, goes, haven't you?
Well, I mean, it depends, doesn't it? If they're super creepy or,
Oh yeah, yeah.
then,
Yeah.
there's limits.
There are
But yeah.
limits, and I say that, but I haven't been on a date for a long time. Thank God. I'd hate thought of dating out. I told you we'd get widely off the subject. But yeah, no, I have horror stories from friends. And just in case some of your viewers might be wondering why, they might think that Genevieve, she'd not have ideas above the station. That oil painting hanging there, in case anyone's wondering. I am a duchess. No, I had quite a big birthday. My 90th. No, I had quite a big birthday in May this year. So, and one of my favorite books is Maggie O'Farrell's The Marriage Portrait. And that is actually a genuine, my husband sent a photograph. There's this company and they do a genuine oil painting, but they incorporate your face. So that's the genuine portrait of the Duchess of Ferrara that inspired the book, the 16th century Duchess of Ferrara, Italian Duchess. She was a teenager, 15, 16, that was murdered, that inspired her book, the Marriage Portrait. And I loved it so much that my husband, so that's the actual portrait, but I've got my face on it. But as we've discussed before, I feel like in a past life I probably was a duchess. So I've got that hanging up.
Yeah.
Just because I do sometimes forget when I'm on Zoom meetings and people are going, what is that? What is that? Is that your Friday night gear or something? What's going on there?
Well, it suits you, is all I will say. Like
I
you could
think I
totally
do.
rock it. Yeah.
I think so. I think yeah, I quite like it for a nice little winter's outfit. I do, yeah.
Oh
With a
god, yeah,
little
not at the minute you die.
I'd be die. Yeah, it must have been such a pain. Like all the bodices and it must have taken ages. You actually would have needed someone to dress you.
Yeah, and because they have to tie it so tight and stuff. And, oh, yeah, it sounds long
Yeah.
actually. But and then
Yeah.
once you're in, aren't you? So you're stuck with that
Yeah.
outfit for the whole day.
Yeah. And then when it got very during the sort of Louis XIV, when they had when the hips got wider and wider, they had to go through doors sideways. It's like crazy.
I know. Yeah,
I'm sorry to get
baffling.
basic, but also going to the loo must have been
Yeah, well, but that's where my mind went as well. So
that's where how did you it must have been a like because they were like priceless silk and they must have had something. They probably had a groom of the
yeah,
piss posh or
stool, I
something.
believe. Yeah, QI.
Yeah.
They said it's the groom of the stool,
Oh, the
and it was
groom
a
of the
very
stall.
yes, a very wanted job, weirdly,
With
because
it,
it meant
with royalty. Yes, it was. Yes, it was a very, yes, they all had this thing, didn't they? There, someone who would hand either there was the dressing of the king and that who would hand the nightcap, and it was all how what you did was, can you imagine that? Oh no, I'd rather not imagine that now. A king
yeah,
Charles,
no,
no, let's
no,
not go
yeah,
there.
good point actually. Yeah. But just off the bat, have you met Kate Moss?
Yes, I have.
She's so tiny, isn't she? She's a tiny,
Yes,
tiny
she's
little woman.
lovely. She's a very warm woman. In fact, that was one of the highlights was I don't have you ever been to the Women's Prize live event?
No,
Bedford Square Gardens.
no, I haven't actually.
Honestly, I can't recommend it enough because it's it's two marquees and it's a really welcoming space. And literally, I was being interviewed this year by Kate Moss.
Wow,
And I read an extract, and that was the high point. Speaking to Pat Marquis, being interviewed by like Kate Moss, and making people laugh, and having people coming up to me afterwards. And then Waterstones Gower Street have a pop up shop there, and I was signing books, and they sold out of my book. That was like a real
wow.
pinch myself moment, like that was. But what is amazing was that there were people like Lise Doucette, Aaron Tarty Roy, Candice Carty Williams. There are all these rock stars, Jenny Godley, you name it, all these people. I literally flung myself at Lise Doucette because she was being shortlisted for the finest hotel in Kabul. Went up to Shane, went up to Joe Brown. I was just sort of, but people are quite approachable. And then Candice Carty Williams, because I love people person. I fangirled her shamelessly. But it's just to me, it's like rock stars. They are walking around within touching distance. But the whole thing, it's not it's how some I don't know that it's not you don't feel like there's a sort of pecking order. It's a really friendly, it's a very believe it or not, it's hard to imagine now. It was actually raining. It was that point in June, it was raining. It was a freezing cold raining day, and then the sun would come out. But it didn't matter. It was such an amazing event. So I really do recommend that to people. But that was I mean I have met her before, but that was a time, and she's a really good interview as well, but she's a very warm, approachable. There's no airs or graces about her, is there? But she is
No,
tiny.
yeah. And if did you meet her husband? Because
I
it's funny
haven't.
you say about her hating men, and that could not be. If you ever see her and her husband Greg together, they adore each
Oh
other.
yeah, that's
They
obvious. I've seen her from.
absolutely, and it's just that, he's always singing her praises and stuff, and she does the same, and it's so, so sweet. And he's
Yeah.
great. He's hilarious as well because he writes cozy crime and he writes speculative as well.
Oh,
Um,
does he? Right. Okay.
but and now his son started writing, but I think don't know if he's screenwriting and he's like my wife was more famous than me and now my son is more famous than me as writers.
No, they are, and
But yeah,
also
they're a
I
great
think
family.
they are, and also I think they've mentored people like Candice Carty Williams. They've had her and they've launched careers, and she's all about. So it's a bit like the Discoveries Prize. It's all about future talent in the pipeline. Like encouraging diversity and inclusion, and yes, there's all this idea. We have this idea of like there's a certain type of person that has to be a writer. Well, that's rubbish.
Yeah.
Like you don't anyone could be a writer, but you have to want to do it because it's an insane process. So
Yes.
it's Because I do have had friends when I don't know if you've had this, my friends say, yeah, I might write a novel actually. You know, and you just and I haven't said anything. I said, oh, okay. She's like, okay. It's as if like, yeah, I might get my hair cut. It's like, okay, actually, it is quite tricky. And I will, for me, there are moments of, but a lot of it is excruciating. I
Oh
mean, I love
God,
it and hate it. It's just like, I don't know about you. I hate the actual writing, as Marion Key said, you have to give yourself permission to write badly. And that's Marion Key's. Your first
yeah.
draft is going to be crud. Utter crud. What you first write is going to be crud in her terms. And it's true. And you have to let yourself do that. I like the editing bit. That's the joyous bit. That's the fun bit. That's the sort of working out. But it's having to inch forward and you just think you just got to sort of do it.
Yeah. I like the first edit. After that, I despise editing with every fibre of my being and have to force myself to sit at my laptop and do it and turn everything off and move everything away because otherwise I will not do it because I hate it. The first edit is great. After that, I hate it
I know what
so
you
much.
mean. Yeah, yeah. Because my agent come back to me and she's saying, "Oh, I've been thinking about this. Why don't we do it like that?" You just think, no, because everything is connected to that. It's not as simple as just taking that out. I have actually thought this through and I've made everything link. You just think, no. And then you have to go and try it, and you think actually they might have a point, you know. But yes, it is. Like, and do you have, there's something called Scrivener? Do you use that? Or do you literally do what I do, get post-it notes and I've literally got a notice board and I move things around?
I don't even have that. I actually, with my first book, I wrote it out of order because, your
Yes,
first
that's
book is
quite,
just
yeah, yeah.
insane. So I had like index cards and I done it that
That's
way.
what I use. I had index card. I literally, oh, that's so good because you're obviously not a Gen X. I am a Gen X. So that was just a Gen X thing. I literally had a notice board and I had these index cards for like chapters and I would sort of move them around and things like that. And I literally did it like that because that's my mind, I find it very, I thought I could get something like Scrivener. I know some people swear by it, but I think for me, I'm such a Luddite that I would spend so long trying to get well, that would be a massive distraction tactic. It's a bit
Yeah,
like going on a creative writing courses. I would recommend anyone who is thinking writing, do go on them because apart from anything else, you'll meet a tribe of writers, and you need a tribe. You need other people who are insane as you. Okay, so that's number one. And you do need, it's good to know rules, whether you follow them or not. It's good to know some basic rules. Okay, and it tells you a bit more about the publishing industry. Um, Again, I've lost my thread. This is what happens when you get to 90, Donna. You can't remember stuff. I'm going to blame it on menopause. I need to up my HRT, obviously. I can't remember what I was saying. What was the point of that? We were talking about writing.
um, Scrivener and distraction.
Scrivener. Yes, yes. Oh God, thank God someone's paying it. Someone's got, your brain is still young and functioning. So I do think that like it's like going on writing courses. There comes a point where I know, like going on a writing course or going on a writer's retreat, it is a distraction tactic. Because people say, oh, I had a friend say, I went on this great writing retreat in the south of France. And I just thought, no, I would just waft around, oh, I'm a writer. You know what I mean? It would just be like, and I'd be so fascinated by everyone else. Start writing about, and I know I just need me, and and I always think the beauty of writing, especially when my ME is playing up, is that you can rock up to your laptop any time of the day or night in your PJs. You don't need to wash, you can stink. It doesn't matter. You don't have to brush your teeth. You can have a bit of stuff or tea. It does. You can, like that's the beauty of it. That's the flexibility of it. That's what I was about routine. But I think it does go to a point where you think, go on a writing course or reading another book about craft. It's something that I listened to an interview with the iconic Margaret Atwood, who surely is a goddess, who just said, you just do it. And your best friend is the bin. And I loved her because she said she said, I wrote this, and how much time she wrote? And to admit this, she said, I wrote these 200 pages and I was so pleased with them. And I left and I went back to them. I thought the descriptions, the characters, I was so pleased. And I went back to them a few weeks and I read them. Nothing had happened in those 200 pages. That's her saying that. And she said, they went to the bin. Like nothing had happened. It doesn't matter how, and she also said the whole of writing, of the craft of writing can be condensed into 3 words: hold my attention. And if you try and bear that in mind, that's really all you need to know. And the rest is just by doing it, you learn. And I think if you have a gut feeling, no, that's not quite, like you say, writing out of order, I find that hard sometimes, but sometimes when you are stuck, it's quite good to say, okay, let's do that chapter where I know there's going to be a really hideous street party where everything is going to go wrong. That's in my second book. Everything is going to go wrong. And I'm going to
Yeah.
write that. It did mean though that you have the street party. So I don't know how you feel about them. My husband said, God, God, let's get the hell out of here. I don't want to go to the street. I can't stand it. And then I said, yeah, yeah, God, yeah. And I thought, oh, but there is a chat. He said, oh God, we're gonna have to stay. I went, yeah, we're gonna have to stay. And I literally kind of like videoed everything. It was just like, it was perfect. Yeah, it was, yeah. So that was yeah, so something like sometimes that you can do the block that way to write out of order. So you are start try and do a scene or a chapter or a bit of dialogue that is going to happen, and then sometimes research can inspire you as well. Do you find that?
Yeah, and actually, and also, when you do pass it on, so when I passed on my first book, something that I completely didn't realize was all of my men were hunks. They were all good looking. They were all, and this guy that had read it, he rang me, and I mean, the way he told me, I was absolutely pissing myself because I was like, well, what's wrong with that? It's like, just have a pudgy guy, just one. I hadn't had a clue, and then he said something that and then I had to go and research about having those games like Dungeons and Dragons,
Yeah. Oh
and
yeah,
it
yeah.
actually really did change my book for the better. So there was stuff like that that I never would have thought of in a million years. It's not on my radar at all.
No, no, but it can really help. I mean, actually, that's the sort of thing as well. I was just that the idea of games. I actually, it's not related at all, but I just suddenly remembered that when when the book was just about to go to press, it was literally almost about to be printed. And I have to soften Maureen because she's quite a spiky character. I didn't, as I said, I didn't want to make Maureen sort of twee and cashmere. I thought, no, let's have her. She can look like that. But inside, she's thinking, oh, sod you. She's a little sulky monologue and she's quite, but to soften her, I have her, she has no children of her own. And there is some darkness in her past, but she's very close to her great niece. So her sister died. She's got a niece and a great niece, and she's a bit like a surrogate grandmother. And my own daughter still has a fantastic relationship with my mother-in-law, who's Glaswegian. And my daughter went through that One Direction phase. Oh God, I must have loved that. Was hideous. We had to go to 1D concerts at Wembley. It was hideous. Anyhow, but my daughter would give her 1D homework. So she would say, okay, grandma, what is Niall's star sign? What and where's Harry's tattoo? And she and my grand and then she newspaper cuttings, send it to her. So I thought, okay, let's have a scene with Maureen and Jodie to have a softer side of Maureen. And I'd written 1D. I'd just taken that, well, about 1D. I thought, hang on a sec. I suddenly woke up literally, and like they'd been proofread, it'd been edited so many times, but still people seen it. And I woke up literally at 3 a.m. and I went, oh my God, no, because that would make Jodie, my daughter's age, about 24. And Jodie's supposed to be 12. Like, why would any 12-year-old sort of roundabout now be at all into One Direction? They'd be into Harry Styles,
Yeah.
possibly Zayn, or they wouldn't be into One Direction. So I thought, oh my God. So I had to I had to change it to BTS, a K-pop band. I suddenly had to do that. I just thought, God, that would really jar the readers. No reader's going to buy. But everyone had missed that. It's funny, isn't
Yeah, it's
it?
funny. Yeah, how funny and how annoying to suddenly occur to you at 3 a.m. as well. These
Well,
things
yeah.
can't occur to you at lunchtime, can they? It's always
No, they can't. And do you know what I had to do? Well, my husband's snoring away. I thought I can't read my own writing. So I have my phone by my bed. So I just it's really mumbled voice note into my phone. BTS, K-pop, I'll change One Direction. I listen to one and go, what? But no, it was otherwise I just forget. Because you have a brilliant idea and you think, I will remember that, I will remember that. I'm just gonna go to sleep. And you wake up in the morning and think, what was that? And often what was a brilliant idea I mean, actually, that was it wasn't a brilliant idea, but it was, thank God that I did remember that. But what you think is a brilliant idea, and I have these guys, and then when you listen to it, you think that's rubbish. But at 3:30 in the morning, it seemed like, I was Margaret Atwood or whatever at 3:30 in the morning. But yeah, I often find, or if you're on a walk, but then not if you're listening to it. Sometimes when I'm having a shower, I'm like, you got to be doing something completely different.
Yeah,
And sometimes when you are blocked, instead of just sitting there, I would say go and do something completely different.
absolutely. Yeah. Do you find now that you're a writer that a switch has flipped, and now you're always seeing things, and you're always like, "Ooh, that could be
Yeah.
something." I mean, my
Oh,
phone is full of random notes now of things that,
yes.
but never before, never would have even considered it. But now I'm like,
I know, but you know what happens is because I'm at a bit of a block point because I with my second book. So I've gone. My second book is, you might spot a theme here. It's about an older woman behaving badly. Okay, this one's a lot. So this one's darker. I have gone darker. So snippy alpha female, head of the street WhatsApp group. Do you remember all the street WhatsApp group that sprung up during COVID? Everyone's a bit frightened of her. She organises the street party. Valerie, she's really always perfectly turned out. Valerie, don't call me Val. But the dark side, so it's sort of quite funny, and it starts with a tarot reading. They have WhatsApp groups, ladies events. They're called Laurel Avenue. So they have lags, Laurel Avenue girls. They have lags events. It starts off with a tarot reading, and it's when I got it checked. All the worst cards, the tower card. It's literally, it predicts her doom. And she sort of says, "Oh, what a load of old bollocks. Who's your next victim?" But it has got to her, and it turns out to sort of be true. But what, so we have that, but then in chapter 2, she goes back home, and in private, she's under coercive control of her husband. So I am doing that really tricky thing. I want it to be funny, but it's also a very dark subject, but it's a subject I'm very passionate about because I do think there's so much stigma. And I also didn't, I don't, I have this thing about, so a lot of agents said to me, "Oh, Maureen's not, she's too spiky, make her so." Why do female protagonists have to be likable? We don't say
I
that about
know,
male
yeah,
protagonists. Why do
no,
they have to be? The talented Mr. Ripley, we don't like him. He's a psycho, but we are compelled to read on, aren't we? Like, what's going to happen? How's he going to get out? How is he going to get it? So you don't need to like them. But I also thought this idea, I mean, there is the sort of downtrodden victim of that, but I have worked with a lot of women who are very confident, quite sharp, and people not very likable. And I've subsequently found out what's been going on at home, and they are the least people. I thought, why do you have to have the perfect victim?
yeah,
I don't want to do that. I spoke to the women's at Women's Day. There's no such thing. And she said, often what can happen in domestic abuse situations is you will have neighbors and let's face it's sometimes the other way around, but often it is male um, perpetrators, and they can be very manipulative. So they like the power. So they will charm everybody. They will charm the family. They will charm the neighbors. So she said, often in court, you will have neighbors saying, "Well, he was lovely. He paid for the bouncy castle. He was great. She was a piece of work." You know what I mean? That's what happens. People don't.
yeah.
So that's kind of like the second book, but I have this thing, I don't know if you have it, when you get stuck,
Mm.
the shiny new idea for another book comes, and I think that is a great idea. Oh my God, that hotel in Eastbourne, yes. In the 90s. I want to write about those women, yes, who lived there. That's what I want to write about. And
Mm-hmm.
and you think, no. And I said to my husband, "I really want," and he said, "I think you should carry on with what you've written." And they write, of course. Do you get that? The shiny new idea.
Oh, I have 20,000 words of another book on the side because I have no self-control apparently. So yeah, absolutely get that.
But do your friends do that thing like that? "Oh, I don't want to be in your book. I've got to be careful what I say to you."
No, they all want to be in it. My old boss is in my second book and my third book. Then my new boss, this is 2 years, so like a boss a year, is now in my third book. All of my friends were pretty much in my first book. Yeah, they all want to be.
Yeah, I
Um,
must admit, I have taken names. I have taken names from friends, and they were pleased. Yeah, I actually had my hairdresser in no oil painting, and another school friend of mine. I just used her name, and
yeah,
they were
I've
very
used.
pleased with that. Yeah, because
Yeah,
it is hard with names, isn't it? You have to get the
oh,
right name.
yeah, my first book, the poor woman, went through four name changes before I eventually settled on one. But talk about an identity crisis, bless her.
Yeah.
It took ages to find the
Yes,
right
it
name.
can do. Yeah, you've got to get it. I think it is important to get the name right. So I came pretty fairly easily. I don't know, it just came to me. I knew that, for example, Rona was going to be Glaswegian and in no oil painting. And I think everyone needs a Rona in their life. There's absolutely so her motivation was clear for helping Maureen. You know, you grasped the polis and you're dead already. That was her. She's just like, she reminds me, I have a cousin, a brilliant cousin, Maria. She won't, I don't know if she'll be watching this, but I reckon if I rang up my cousin Maria, and everyone needs a Maria, I'd ring up and say, Maria, Maria, you got to help me. I've murdered someone, their body's here, and I don't know what to do. She would literally say, okay, right, don't touch anything. Pour me a G&T and I'll be on my way. I'll sort it out. And I reckon she would. She's that sort of character. So I do take little bits, but that. So anyhow, I've got off the point a bit, but yes, I do think you can take, because people say, oh, is that me, or is Maureen you? No, Maureen isn't me, because I wouldn't steal a painting. I'd live vicariously through her, but also because I'm not repressed. And you have to, yes, you do take bits from life. Obviously, you draw on your own life, but you have to think about, okay, why is that character like that? Why are they doing? What's made them done that? What is their yearning? What is their, I mean, I hate to say it, go all sort of psychobabble, but what is their wound? Why are they behaving like this? Why are that? So with my second character, Valerie, it's all about her armor. It's all about her front and the shame, and so that everything will be defined by that. So um, but you do draw on little aspects from real life, or I don't know, you just even little things that you see people do, because I think if you can kind of like, if you're, especially if you're writing an eccentric character, do something as specific, really make it as specific as possible, like something, a really funny little tick that someone does. I think that makes it somehow, it gives it credibility, more plausibility for the reader. They can read it as true, whereas if you're just doing sort of really sort of, I don't know, more generalized things like, oh, just sighing a lot, that's no good, is it? I mean, like,
No.
I must admit that there are certain phrases. There's a lot of, like, you just have to sort of cut out. You can't have them rolling their eyes. You can only have them rolling in their eyes so many times, because everyone's
Oh,
just
it's
going to,
pacing for me. Apparently, in my book, everyone paces everywhere to the point where the carpet would be worn down someone's head. I'm like, okay, go dear.
yeah, that's the thing. You have to, I do this thing on my Word document. You think, how many times have I used this word? And then there was some swearing. I mean, there is some swearing, and some people don't like that. I understand that, but I was determined to. It's not that bad, but yeah, there are some F bombs for sure. In fact, one chapter heading is an F bomb, because again, I wanted to go. I'd written this before the Richard Osman Thursday Murder Club. It just came out when I kind of written it. Oh, I mean, it was good and bad. Do you know what I mean? But there's not much, like I thought, I really want to make them different. I don't want her to be sort of just all twin set and pearls and ever so, doily. She's not like that, she's just so but oh God, it's happened again. It's a Friday evening. This is what
I
happens at the
know.
end of the week.
Yeah.
The heat is a heat wave. It's August. Um Anyhow, ask me something else because I've lost my thread.
Well, I was just going to say, what was I say? See, I've forgotten as well. I was going to say something then as well. Oh, yeah. Most old people aren't like that anyway, that in my experience, they're pissed off with life and how things
Yeah.
have changed, and they're racist generally. And,
Yeah.
so I think
Maureen isn't
actually,
actually, but yeah, there are some, yeah.
I think having old people that swear and that, is more real anyway than having, the perfect twin set. And I don't think those pensioners are real, not in real life, not behind closed doors.
Well, if you think about it, so people in their 70s are sort of like the original punk rockers, like they are. And of course, like it is bewildering and it's always going to be like that. It's kind of like it must be so like computers and things, it's just so sort of alien to them. I mean, I still have, I'm very sort of Gen Xer. So sometimes, when, and I know WhatsApps and texts and things are brilliant, but sometimes, when you're meeting someone, you just think, can we just speak on the phone for a few seconds? Because it's so much easier. And like it really annoys my daughter. She's just like, I don't like FaceTiming. I only do that with my daughter. And I just like come out, no, I don't want to FaceTime. But sometimes there's that. So I think that can be, technology can be very bottling. But I also was, I mean, I didn't sit down and think, right, I'm going to write a book about invisibility in loneliness and older people. No, but that came through because it had to be, why is Maureen unhappy? She's bored, she's lonely, she feels invisible, she feels unseen, and she feels patronized. And I've got to that thing, and people call me madam. I can't stand. It's like I'm not in a nursing home yet. I don't, madam. Like, excuse me, madam. You just think no. So I just think, that patronized, oh, dear, oh, that, like, oh. So I think that would be so, I put all of that into it. But I did feel like the reaction of my friends when I was volunteering at Ham House, like, oh my God. And I was saying, but honestly, you look at their life stories and their experience, and they're so funny, and they're really, some of them are all, had old guys in this, they would be all suited up, and they really did turn up week after week, and they were the lifeblood. And you thought this place wouldn't be open if it wasn't for these people. And I really admired them. They were really welcoming. I mean, some were cliquey, some were, but they were just joyous, really. And so I thought, no, I do want to write about that. They are invisible. I mean, I'm invisible now, and I don't mind, because I think it is. And this is what Maureen does. She flips it into a superpower, hiding in plain sight, because no one suspects an old dear with a lanyard and a fleece. No one,
No.
you know. And yes, I think. So I did that point it evolved as I wrote it, because that was the kind of the motive. And then at the end, do they get caught? And there's all of that. Um, but I was inspired by a lot of films, actually. I was inspired by a scene was it in Pulp Fiction? Because I mean, obviously Tarantino's the obvious director for no
Oh
oil paint.
God, yeah.
I mean, he'd
Yeah.
be perfect. It's just his type of thing. No, there's a scene in which they're going to do something pretty major, and they have this really banal conversation about HRT and everything. And do you remember that scene when they're going, it's John Travolta, and they're going to assassinate someone, and they're talking about ordering Le Big Mac in Paris.
That's
They're
right,
planning to go
yeah.
and kill someone. How do you say it? You say Le Big Mac. Yeah, and so sometimes you do think, I mean, you just say that's a really, I like that idea of doing something really major, but you're having a really quite banal, ordinary conversation. So you do take little scenes like that. And my sort of prologue was inspired by, did you ever watch Big Little Lies?
No, I'm
The end of
I'm
season
terrible
one.
because I'm always reading. I'm rubbish. I've hardly seen any TV series and stuff.
Well, that's good. It's good to read. I tend to do a lot of listening to audiobooks, because I find that I can then use it as I'm doing stuff roundabout or on the tube, as I can be kind of like reading while I'm doing stuff rather than sitting down and read. I mean, there's pros and cons, because sometimes I do think it is nice to sit down and actually have the paper book, but if you get a really good narrator, it
Oh,
can be fantastic, sometimes to have the book narrated to you. But yes, unfortunately, Imelda Staunton hasn't come forward to narrate my book yet, just yet. So
well,
I
you can
haven't.
ask. You never know.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's. We'll see what
Yeah, you
happens.
never know. Life is weird, I've discovered, and the crime community and the writing community is incredibly weird. And I've never had so many strange but incredible experiences since I've been part of it. So you just never know, is what I found out.
Like what? Tell me some of the weird, strange. Are you able to say?
I mean, like a nice thing was I got to tell Kathy Rikes that she was the reason that I studied forensics, which was quite cool. Never
Oh
expected to be able to
wow.
do that. I got into a thing with a blogger where she sort of conned me out of nearly a grand, and the crime fiction community done a um just giving, and I got every single penny back. So just
Oh,
stuff like that. It's a bizarre but incredible place to be.
yeah, they're
Um,
very quite a warm community. So you presumably you're a member of the Crime Writers Association and
yeah,
CWA and everything.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
But I
yeah.
think I go to, well, because I do these and I started
Mm.
doing them during lockdown, I got to know a lot of authors anyway. And then I go to as many festivals as I can get to every year. So then
So what? I mean, obviously there's the big one in what's the really big one?
Harrogate,
Harrogate, yes.
just
So what are the
yeah.
other? Yes. What
So
is
you've got
that? What
Capital Crime, which
Capital
is,
Crime? Yeah, in June in
yeah,
London. Yeah.
yeah, which is in May next year, actually. Then you've got Bloody
Oh,
Scotland.
May. Yes, yes.
Bloody Scotland is in September. That's in
So have you
Stirling.
met Val McDermott?
Oh, loads of times, yeah.
I love her. What's she like? She's formidable.
Oh, yes. She,
Doesn't suffer fools gladly.
no. If she's in a good mood, then she's, lovely and stuff. And if she's busy or she's with someone, then you don't exist, basically. So,
Well,
yeah,
yeah,
which,
yeah, okay.
yeah. Um, yeah, Lee Child is such a lovely man. Very tall,
Oh,
very skinny.
really?
Yeah, lovely
Okay.
man. Um, and
Hasn't he stopped writing now?
yeah, but he still attends loads of festivals. I
Oh,
mean,
does he? Right.
he's moved back to the UK
Yes,
anyway,
that's
so I
right.
guess it's
Yes.
no hassle for him. So he went to Harrogate, but he lives in Yorkshire, so obviously it's just a quick
Yeah.
pop down the road. So yeah, he was there. I mean, yeah, I've met Sophie, I've met Richard Osman a few times.
Yeah.
I met Mark Gatiss, who and I didn't have a clue who he
Oh, oh
was.
my God, I
I
love
had
him.
no clue, and all my friends were all gushing over him and stuff, and I'm just like, I have no idea. And then I saw him, and I'm just like, yeah, okay. And then I watched Bookish, his program, because he talked about it at a festival, and I'm like, and I totally fell in love with him as well. So
Yeah,
if I
oh,
saw him now,
amazing.
I would gush completely as well. But I was just like, what's wrong with you lot? I had no clue.
Well, sometimes it's quite good if you do that. Sometimes they probably would like it if you're not sort of kind of all
Yeah,
over them. They'll
and like
probably
Richard Armitage, everyone goes mental, and I'm just like, I don't get it. Completely don't understand at all.
he was the guy that was in you won't know because you won't know what he was in Spooks, right? And he started was he an
Possibly.
actor?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Has he started writing? Oh God, I'm a bit
Yes.
behind the times. Yes, he
Yes,
has.
he has. Yes.
Have you read any of Frank Gardner's books? You know, the
I think I
BBC
might have done. Yeah.
correspondent. Yeah, his books are quite good as well. I mean, obviously, because he's in that, because he's in that world. And I do think a lot of people sort of, like to slag off Richard Osman, but his books are really well crafted. They do what they say on the tin. Do you know what I mean? And it's
Exactly. And there's no doubt that he wrote them because it's so his humor, and the
mm,
fourth book made me bawl my eyes out. Um,
yeah.
And
Actually, I don't think.
that's
Yeah, have I read? Oh, I think I'm up to date. It's a bit like look, I know that she's quite controversial now, so let's not go there. But the Harry Potter books, like
see,
everyone
I
likes to
mean,
say
I
that.
don't care. They're my favorite. They completely
I
blew me away
I
that
know.
in a way that nothing else ever has done.
Do you know what? Sometimes I met my friend, an old school friend of mine, up in town yesterday, and we both admitted that when we're feeling a bit low and run down, I go right back to book one of Harry Potter on
Yeah,
Audible and listen to Stephen
absolutely.
Fry narrate it. It's like a real
Yeah,
comfort thing, and I
yeah.
still love it.
Absolutely, and you will still hear something different, I think. I mean, perhaps not the first one because I've read that a lot. But
Yes.
but getting lost in that world is
So
just,
it's very
yeah,
easy to slag these things off, but her crafting is next to none. And I think Richard Osman is very well crafted. He does the very short chapters. He's very bright. And look, it's not for everybody, but I think it's all very well to slag it off. But I feel like saying, okay, now that I know how hard it is to write a book, I find it even books I really don't like. I find it much harder to just slag off because I think,
yeah,
okay, all right, yeah, but you've sat down, you've done it. and you got it published. So, okay, it hasn't grabbed me, but you did it. So hats off. I do find it harder to really,
Yeah, that's it.
unless,
You know the blood, sweat, and tears that went into getting that out
yeah,
there,
unless
and
it's a sort of a celeb who's just been obviously asked by the publisher because they know the publisher's it's gonna be £1 million. Like, do you know what I mean? There's a lot of celebrity authors who are really good, who write really well, but there's some who just literally the publisher said, right, can you do this? And they've just written something, and
yes, there's
it's well
lots of
back.
rumors that fly around about who they are and who they're not.
Yeah, that there is that. And also I think I know we're going wildly off the subject, but I do think, and I think they're going to start acknowledge them more, but I do think ghostwriters are incredible for autobiographies. I think they're
Yeah,
the
I don't.
unsung heroes. It's quite an art to it.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's madness. Like, I never would have considered using a pseudonym or anything. I wanted people to know that I wrote my book and it was always going to be my name on the cover. I never would have considered. So, how does a ghostwriter do that and not get unless they
Yeah,
really don't want it, I guess.
and very few celebrities will acknowledge or that there's the odd one or two who say I had a brilliant ghostwriter, and I really like people who do that
Yes.
because obviously they're really busy. They've never written, that's not their thing. So why wouldn't you credit them and say, yeah, I had a really, yeah, because didn't write it, but very few do,
Yeah.
and I think that now they are thinking about having awards and something because it's quite an art. You have to have a sort of connection with someone. You have to get the feel of them, but then you have to try and untangle their story, but get their voice across. And it's quite an art. I don't think they're often, yeah, they're real. Yeah, I don't know why. I guess it's just a way they probably use it as it's quite good income.
Yeah. Unlike being a self-published author, which really isn't. It's
No,
not good income
or
at
with a
all.
very small publisher. In fact, I met my publisher. Have you ever been to the London Book Fair in
Yes.
March?
Yes.
So I went for the first. So having signed the book was released in October, but he lives in Scotland. He raises. He's got a small holding of sheep and goats outside, north of Dundee, somewhere around there. And so I met him. He's a lovely guy. He's been in publishing for 20 years, used to teach and everything. So he really knows his stuff. And he's very passionate about creating a platform for indie authors. So I really love. I met him for the first time at London Book Fair, and you know how everyone's walking around. It's terribly self-important. It's London Book Fair, big deals going on, lawyers and all this. Anyhow, he was talking to his wife over the phone. One of his goats had mastitis, of how to inject antibiotic into the udders of the goat over the phone. And I just thought, oh, this is brilliant. This is where Maureen belongs. This is so not London Book Fair. It was the perfect adjective. Yes, I think Maureen's found her home. Burton May's books, yeah.
Brilliant. And that actually seems like quite a nice place to finish, although I could literally
Yes.
talk to you all evening.
Yes, thank you
But
so much. It's been lovely. Sorry, we have
when
gone
you're
wildly off the point, but that's what I do.
that's what I do as well, which is why we get on so well. But when book two's published, then we will do this all again.
Yeah, I'm gonna give myself a deadline like you did.
Yeah. I mean, I'm happy to nag. I can provide this service for free. It's not an issue. Um, I mean, most people that follow me now know that my sister turns 40 on the 31st of August, which is why I'm releasing the book on that day. So it's a bit of a gift to her. But I have
Oh,
also been counting down how many days left she has until she turns 40, since January the 1st. So I will do it.
have
I'm
you dedicated it to her?
Yes, of course, yeah. And there's a character named after her as well, so she gets like a triple
Oh,
whammy. But yeah, it's
oh,
a
lucky
little bit of a
sister.
yeah. Well, I have been winding her up since the 1st of January, so it seems kind of fair. I've only forgotten once
I
as
think you can
well.
tell that 40 is a great age. I think
I'm
your
over
40s
40 now, yeah. So
I think 40 is a good age because you still, you're not quite invisible. You're still got hopefully health and what have you. But um I think you're much more you know who you are by then. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, the only thing that's pissing me off is chin hairs. I mean, seriously, what is up with
Maureen has
fucking chin
Maureen
hairs?
has that problem and she uses in the end she tweezes one out, but she's always pulling at her hair on her chin.
Why? Why do we need them?
Why
Like,
do ears get bigger? I'm sorry, we need to
yeah.
end on this note. What is this thing with your, is it true that your ears and your nose, because I've got an Italian, so I can't, your ears and your nose continue to grow. Is that an urban myth or is that the truth? That's the note we should end on, people.
I think it's an urban myth. I think it's just because your skin shrinks. I've got a degree in forensic science as well, so
Because everything starts sort of,
I
yeah.
think men's do, but I don't think women's do
No,
necessarily.
I think,
Because they say
yeah.
your nails grow, but they don't. It's just because the skin shrinks and stuff.
Yeah, there's nothing good about getting older, is there,
No,
physically? I
yeah.
think the only good thing I found that you do start to care less.
Oh God, yeah.
I cannot contain, especially being sort of menopausal, even though I'm an HRT, I cannot button it. When something I can't. My husband is always saying, "Don't." I can't. I
I
can't.
know. Oh,
I'm going
yeah,
to implode if I don't. I can't bear it. My tolerance levels.
yeah. Being on trains is hard, especially if I forget my earphones. I'm sitting there and I'm absolutely seething, and I'm just like,
Well, with someone when someone plays their music or their YouTube video with no speaker,
yeah.
the thing is
Or just on their phone.
you have to weigh it up with like I don't want to be stabbed, but
Yeah, exactly.
I, have you heard of it? I have gone up to people. Some guy was just playing the news. It was like Radio 4 News. It's the headlines. And I went up to him and I said, "Can you turn that?" I was like a real Karen. "Can you turn that down?" But it was just so no, everyone was hating it. And then he went, "I can't hear it very well." I said, "Well,
Yeah,
have you heard of yeah, have you heard of get some AirPods?" He went, "Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't realize it was loud." I said, "We can all hear it. We don't like like I don't know if you know, but there's other people in the world apart from you. Is what I found. Anyhow, but you have to be careful because, as I say, you have to size up your targets carefully. I figured he wasn't carrying
yes.
a
And
machete, so
I look again, like I know we should, but I done it in the gym once. So I was in the women's only section, and this woman was on the phone, and she was so loud, and I was on the machine, and I was getting angrier and angrier, and like I had my earphones in, and I'm quite chilled normally, like I'm really laid back, and I was like on the machine, and in the end, I did go up to her, and someone else looked at me and rolled their eyes, so she was definitely annoying other people, and I said, "Can you turn that down, or can you get some earphones?" I've got my earphones in and the volume is on full and I can still hear you. And she turned it off and then there was not a peep in this woman's only
everyone was
section.
like, "Yay!"
It was so awkward. And I'm like, I'm not leaving. Like, I know that
The thing is, that's quite English of us. We just sort of tut, don't we? Whereas, like, if you're in like the Italian side, people just come up. The people just say, "All my Italians, they don't be so polite. Just can't say what they just come up. They just push people out the way. That's the Italian style. They just say it.
yeah, I mean, I
There's
don't
no.
normally, but I was so angry when it was
No, there does
getting.
come a point. I mean, maybe you should. It's like people on speakers in their car having a conversation in the car. Like, literally, I don't think they realize how loud. Like, everyone can hear. The whole street can hear your bloody conversation about your boring work, and then
I
especially if
know.
they're having a juicy argument, that's brilliant. Then it's
Yeah,
quite
that's it.
good.
You just earwig. Yeah, it's great.
Anyhow, sorry. Look, we could go
Yes.
on. It's lovely
Right.
to meet you.
You two, before we go, hold your book
Yes,
up again so everyone can see what they're going to go buy. Tell us where we can buy
Amazon.
it from.
Well, if you don't live in the sort of Southwest London area, because I do supply some indie shops, Amazon. So just if you can't, my name, Genevieve Marenghi, is quite hard to spell. So just look up no oil painting and I will come up. So buy it, people, or I'll send Rona around to deal with you. Yeah, no, buy it's fun. I wanted to write an escape from the everyday grind.